Evening, beautiful souls. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another life. I actually didn't feel like coming live today. Felt a lot of resistance, and I asked my future self. I asked future Nishanti, the version of myself that can feel her vision so strongly and so powerfully. Hello, Sophia. I asked her, what would she do if she doesn't feel like going live? And she told me, you go live. You show up. You show up for yourself. You show up for your community, even if you don't feel like it. So here I am. I'm showing up. And this future version of myself is really, really guiding me a lot at present, because the past couple of weeks, the past 3 weeks or so, I've been turning a lot of my energy inwards, and in silence I've been creating a lot in the back end of my business, and it all is related to the new membership. And normally I would share much more about it also with my friends and my sisters, and this time around I didn't feel like that, and I just connected each and every single day with that version of myself, not so far away even, who feels the vision in her body so strongly, who sees it, who believes it, who knows it to be true, and who's already living it. And each and every single day I asked her, what would you do? How would you navigate this? And she kept and keeps guiding me, which is beautiful. But that's not what I would like to share about today. Today I actually would like to share about something that I never ever imagined sharing about publicly. If you would have asked me 10 years ago, even 20 years ago, if I would ever express something about God or Christ consciousness, I would be like, hell no. What? Why? Because there was a lot of resistance. And right now I'm feeling ready to open up about my relationship with God, and how it also came to be that I'm feeling completely different in my relationship with Source, with God, with Sophia, however you like to refer to it. For a long time I couldn't even say and speak about a relationship with God, because I felt so much resistance in my body and my bones, and I always kept referring to source energy, and that resonated deeply with me. And then a couple of months ago, it was actually in Bali, the islands of the gods, who knows, right? There something shifted significantly within my being, within my quantum field, within my body, and so much was being activated, and I really started to look and feel into the relationship with God, and what that meant for me, and how that would look like, and how that would feel like. And I started to actually create a new relationship in full surrender. And I want to go to that a little bit later in this life, because first I would like to loop you back to the beginning that some of you may know, but I think most of you don't even know. I grew up as Catholic. I grew up in a Catholic family in the south of the Netherlands, in Limburg, and each and every single week we would go to church. And as a little girl, that was just part of it. You would go to church. I went to a Catholic school as well. So we also had lessons and studies each week about that. And that was just just how it was. But as I was growing older, I felt a lot of resistance. I didn't want to go to church, but I had to go with, so I did. And then when I was around 7 or 8, my grandma passed away. And this is a bit of a silly experience, but it happened. And we were sitting in church, and I was actually sitting next to my brothers, and my parents, they were sitting in a different row. And I had a chewing gum, and in that ceremony specifically, whilst we were saying goodbye to our grandma, I learned how to blow these bubbles with my chewing gum. So like I was having fun, right? I was like, oh, this is amazing. This is really cool. My mom obviously was super angry at me, which I totally get, of course. And my brothers, I think they also felt it was a little bit funny, but they were also like, you cannot do that. So it's like, okay. But after that, I like started to resist going to church a little bit more and more and more and more as I was growing older. And then I felt like okay, like why should I even go, because it didn't make any sense to me. Like it felt like an obligation, it felt something that my parents were like telling me to do, and we were just following. That was just how it was. And then something significantly happens in my teenage years, in my early teenage years, where my mom, she was very like religious in the way that she was the one that initiated to go to church each week and so on. And then when I was around 13 years, I can't remember the exact age to be honest, but my mom, she fell ill, and she the rest of her life after that she was in a wheelchair. And yeah, that did a lot for our family, of course, for the dynamics within our family, for me also being a teenager, and I didn't really have a good relationship with my mom, and that didn't improve it. So what happened in terms of religion is that from that moment onwards, we stopped going to church, because there happened something also within my mom and within our beliefs, and we never really spoke about that, and she's not with us anymore, so I cannot ask her the question in this physical reality right now. But yeah, I think she just lost all faith and all trust, and felt really also, I feel a little bit more in victimhood, like why did this happen to me, right? So we didn't go to church anymore, and we kept going. Prior to that already, I was in agreement with my parents that I didn't have to go on a weekly basis to church anymore. So they were okay if I would just go with Christmas and Easter. And eventually it was even the case that I also felt like that's also not feeling aligned for me, because if I don't go throughout the year, why should I go with Christmas? Doesn't make any sense. So then I even got into like an agreement with them, and my sister-in-law, she also didn't go, that we would make the dinner and stuff, and they would go to the Christmas night ceremony, and then when they will come back, then we organized all the food. So that was like from like, yeah, like early teenage years on. And then like beginning teenage years, then my parents stopped going to church, and there was a lot of resistance to the religion and all these things. And I was like, okay, I was kind of happy with it in a way, because I never felt it. And yeah, that was kind of it. And then I also started to resist, just like I resisted the church for many different reasons. I still do so. But the relationship with God also was like, it was not there anymore for no one actually in our family, to be honest. And then when I was beginning 20s, I believe, somewhere in my 20s, mid-20s, it doesn't matter how old I was, I went on a travels, and I went to Jordan, I went to Israel, and to Palestine as well, and to Egypt. And in that travel also to Israel, I visited Jerusalem, I visited different cities over there, and I learned much more, again in the remembrance of the religion also that I grew up with. And in that same year that I went to Israel and Jordan and Egypt, where a lot of these religions actually have been birthed and started in ways, also Mount Sinai and stuff like that in Egypt. So in that same year, I also went to Germany, to Berlin, for a city trip. So there was, in my experience and my travel experience that year, was a lot of contrast in what I was like witnessing and observing in Berlin, in Germany, and then in that part of the world. And then when I came back, I actually felt like, okay, I want to start reading the Bible. I never read the Bible, and I never felt like aligned. And I looked into it in some of the bookstores, like, oh, I will never be able to read this. So I bought a children's Bible, and I started reading that, and I actually was able to read it. So I was mid-20s, and I was reading a children's Bible, right? It's kind of silly, but it's true. And a lot of for me clicked, but I was not really yet on the spiritual journey how I am now, obviously. So it was read, and that was it. And then a couple of years later, when my mom passed away, I think there was another shift in my relationship with God. And for me, there's two different parts here, because there's a relationship with God, or with Source, or with Sophia, or with Christ and Light, and there's religion. And for me, they're not one and the same. Let me be very clear on that. They are not one and the same. Especially if you look at the church and the history and all the stuff that happened there. But God in itself, the energy, the source, like we are all coming from that same source. So that carries a complete different frequency for me. And that's also, when I'm referring to God, that's the frequency, that's the source that I'm referring to in the embodiment, in the guidance, in the teachings, in the remembrance, and so on. So, yeah, I felt a lot of resistance for a really long time, and I started to reflect back on also the relationship with God when my mom passed away, but it was not really activated within me, in all honesty. Up until like a couple of years ago, it was being more and more active in my field, but I never really tapped into it because I felt like my body was saying no, no, no. And then my experience in Bali last year happened, and there I really started to listen. I guess that's it. I started to listen. Like, what does it mean to me? How does this relationship then look like? How does it feel to my body? And what does it mean to me? And it will mean something different for each and every one of you. And for me, what happened in Bali was that I was at a stage, in a place, in those months where I felt really overwhelmed, and my nervous system / joyful system didn't feel joyful back then. It felt really contracted and overwhelmed. And I was just laying on my bed, and I was just like, please God, just show me the way. I completely surrender, just show me the way. And this is how I started to surrender. This is how I started to surrender to God, or to Source. However, again, you like to refer to it for a long time. Like I mentioned, I refer to it as Source, and right now it's translating in God instead of Source, and for me it's one and the same. And once I did that, and I started to ask, like, just guide me, and actually, like, I give you full control. Like, I don't know anymore. I literally don't know anymore, because what happened is that I was looping in a certain loop, and I couldn't get myself out of that freaking loop. And when the day is there, and that day will come, I will share with you the loop that I have been repeating for an incredible long time. But right now, I'm looping out of it, which is amazing and which is great. But that, to me, happens in a way hand in hand with the full surrender and trust, handing it over to God, handing it over to, like, here I am, and you can either take me and it's okay, or please lead me and show me the way. And God started to show me the way. And very slowly, I started to disconnect from certain people, from certain communities, and I started to see so much more. I had one addiction in my life, and I started to give that up as well, and I didn't even see it as an addiction for a really, really long time, because like I saw it as medicine plants, and I used it and it's about microdosing cannabis. For a really long time I've been using like microdosing cannabis on and off, and I saw it as plant medicine in the expansion. Only like a year or so ago, that year when I on paper moved back to the Netherlands, so that has been last year, there was a lot happening financially, because I moved back into the system. And when I left all these years ago, I just left. I maybe kind of run away from some of the stuff. And now I came back, and there were like letters, and there were people claiming money, and there was like student debts and so on, and I never looked at it, and now it was all there, and I had to deal with it, and I had to face it. And it was a conscious decision for me to move back to the Netherlands on paper, even I wasn't there, but to do that to grow my business, because I felt in my body and in my bones, if I desire to take this up a notch, and if I desire to anchor my soul legacy, I need to do this differently. I can't like have the business registered in South Africa and then do a little bit here and a little bit there, and it didn't feel aligned anymore. So I did that, and in that year, last year, I had to take incredible steps in terms of taking responsibility for messes that past versions of myself made in the past. I had to close these gaps. I had to have very uncomfortable conversation. I had to like conversations to make finance and paying off like agreements and so on and so on. And I did all of that. And in all honesty, when I had the first conversation, my voice was shaking. My body was shaking. And I was like so scared that my cousin actually took over the phone, and he was like, let me get you the right person, and when I have the right person, I will hand you back the phone. The second conversation, what happens, like there was a fear towards the system. So what happens when I was having these conversations with governments, institutions and so on, I would shrink so much. And I'm a light leader and I can lead, but there I would shrink, and that would only be fear. And what happened is that when I was in that place and the overwhelm, I often would start screaming. So I would move into the anger, and I would lose my shit very quickly within minutes. So there have been conversations where my cousin literally was sitting opposite of me, and he's like, calm. And this is how I was guided by also the divine masculine to have these conversations and to navigate these and to get arrangement sorted. And then still there was a little bit of postponing in certain things, and then I got my ass kicked again from him very lovingly, like, hey, you need to do this and you need to get this sorted. And I did, and it's still a little bit messy, to be honest. It's still not all sorted. And the thing that happened as well is that a lot of what has been coming in also immediately goes out. So that's also like, yeah, but that's part of it. It's part of also taking the responsibility. Well, what happened in that moment last year when I moved back to the Netherlands on paper is that my nervous system was getting so fried and afraid for all these financial things that were like coming closer and closer and closer, that I started to use the cannabis more, but I was using it eventually as an escaping and no longer as the medicine. And I didn't see it as I was using it as escaping for a long time. Only like mid-year through I started to see it, and I was like, oh wait, but then I didn't act immediately on it, and this all shifted for me like in the end of the year, and my months in Bali, it all shifted. I completely stopped using the cannabis at all. I started to like really weave and co-create differently with my relationship to God and with God. And yeah, I started to really step up in that way also, in getting everything sorted financially. And on that financial aspect, I never had any debts prior to 2019 except for my student loans, and that's not even like a big loan, to be honest. But because I never tended to it, it has been adding up, because these letters were arriving somewhere in South Africa and I never had seen them. So it was all like, yeah, past versions didn't really act always in the best ways, but I can laugh about it now. So prior to 2019, I didn't have any debt, and there was always an abundance in money. There was so much abundance in money. I mean, I traveled the world since the age of 17. I lived in different countries. I immigrated to South Africa, and yeah, I always did anything and everything that I desired to do. Started my own business, started my own tea company, and so on and so on. But then in 2019, when I went deep into my inner journey, into healing my sexual trauma, I disconnected with a lot of grids, family grids specifically. And those family grids, they gave me like a certain security that was like, I knew that if something would really go wrong, there was always a backup. And from that moment onwards in 2019, I knew, because I disconnected, I cut these cords, I knew that backup will never be there. So now it's just me. It's just me. And if I fail, what then? And I failed a couple of times. And I learned that in the past couple of years that I have my chosen family who showed up for me, like sisters who supported me financially at times, but also with food or a place to stay, and just the love and the support and the guidance. The abundance was coming in so many different ways. Back in 2019, there were moments in time that I was like so low, so down in that healing journey, that I literally didn't eat, that my friends would bring me, my sister would bring me some food, the food that I would enjoy the most, and I would still be like, no, and she was literally, just one cracker please, just one. So all support was coming from all different ways and all different layers. And that was also God. That was an extension, because these sisters, this soul family, they are all part of the soul tribe. We are all part of Source. We are all part of God. And they were angels in those moments, holding me, literally holding me from that surviving into thriving. And they saw me thriving already whilst I was still in surviving. And yeah, so a lot around that has been shifted in last year. And like I mentioned, Bali was the big shift, where I saw like, oh, like this, like a sneaky addiction that slipped in. But yeah, that's once I saw it, it was also like gone and released, luckily. But then that relationship with God, and right now it has been so different, because like it's only becoming a deeper relationship. And I started this life, I never could have imagined speaking about this even, or sharing about this, or sharing anything about God. And again, for me, God is not the religion, God is not the church, but it's the energy, it's the frequency of Christ consciousness. And that's who we are in essence. That's the embodiment of all of us. That's the union, the unity, and the separation. Because like there is no one else except for me, and everything outside of myself is a reflection of me. And that goes for each and every one of us. And Source, God, like is leading me through this life. And God trusted me, I trusted me, my soul trusted me, I trusted myself with all the experiences that I have experienced in this life, and that I chose to experience, from the adoption to the sexual trauma to everything in between, to the businesses, to the studies, to the travels, to the from the highs to the lows. It doesn't matter. Like God, Source, my soul, I myself trusted me with all these stories, with all these experiences. And once I started to translate that in making it even bigger than me, making it even bigger than my soul, and I trusted myself in that, but it was God and it was Source trusting me with that. It feels like it kind of expanded into a new layer where there is even more surrender, where there is even more like trust, more acceptance, more allowance. I can see the vision beyond the vision even clearer. That's why I can attune so much deeper and in more presence with my future self as well. Because once I fully surrendered to God's communicating through me, to God correcting me in the movements that I make, in the shaking, in the screaming, it's God correcting me in my natural state of being. It's Source directing me in the direction of my vision. And I don't need to go anywhere. I just need to recalibrate and allowing the correcting, allowing whatever needs to be like shaken off or spoken out loud or sometimes sang out loud or screamed out loud. Doesn't matter. It's God correcting me. And once I started to see it like that, each time when I now receive quantum surgery from my beautiful family of light, I can surrender even more, and I can just be like, okay, just let it happen. And if I go into a purge, it's fine, because God is correcting me to my highest available version, to like create the impact that I desire to create, to lead this movement, to inspire as many as possible people. And it brought me back to the inner standing, the inner knowing, and the inner wisdom that God, my soul, and I wouldn't have chosen these life stories and these experiences to then do nothing with it to inspire and support humanity. So my vision and my mission is so much bigger than just serving the small containers that I've been serving up till now. And I'm starting to really embody in that it's so much bigger than I ever dared to speak out loud. There were layers that were feeling like this is so much bigger than me. This is so much bigger than it's not about me. It's not about these stories, but there's so much wisdom in those. And once I started to surrender to that, I saw a shift that I desired to speak about it. I started to feel the desire to translate that in my business, to translate that in my service offerings, to translate that in the way that I speak, in the way that I move, in the way that I show up. And that has been the transformation of the past couple of weeks that I've been going through in silence. I also decided, like, God just direct me, and I'm gonna be silent, because normally I would share much more, and now I'm sharing. But what's really happening, I'm not even sharing with my friends. Yesterday was the first time that I shared with one of my sisters like what I was working on, and she's like, I've never heard you so passionately about one of your service offerings. And it's like, yes, I know, but this is it. I can feel it in my bones. This is it. This is it. This is what's going to lead me into that movement that I've been dreaming for and about for years. This is the service offering that's gonna lead me into that 6-figure business and eventually the 7-figure business. This is it. I can feel it in my body. I can feel it in my bones. And it's not only about the money. I love the money, but it's about creating the impact too. And it's that embodiment to allow it all to be without any attachment to it, with any expectations, and to fully trust and to fully surrender no matter what. And it's the acceptance that's there's an energy so much bigger than you, what you can tap into in your humanity, in your humanness, that's continuously flowing through you. So can you let it all in? can you let it all in? Because if the grief is coming up, if the sadness is coming, if the shame is coming up, if the guilt is coming up, if the anger or the frustration is coming up, it's God correcting you. It's God showing you, like, look at this. What is this teaching you? What is your body telling you? Your body is your most advanced technology. Source is constantly communicating through you. So what is there in it for you? And then the piece clicked, one of the biggest pieces for me in my journey in the past couple of weeks. And South Africa is always amazing. I'm receiving the most incredible downloads and information and wisdom here. And it's also much more activated in the masculine in that way, that there's much more activity in aligned action activated, that I'm like pushing through and pulling through, which is beautiful. So these are grids that I feel I will always come back to. And now I lost my threads. Where was I? I lost it. Maybe it comes back, maybe it doesn't. Let me feel in. Yeah, something that dropped in. Yes, thank you. So something that dropped in the past couple of weeks, which was essential for me, and that is that many of us, we are so used to feeling the fear in the body, in the nervous system, because this is what you have been feeling all your life. This is what you're used to feel. This is what's feeling comfortable because you know it. And that fear, it's like a coin. It's like if you look at a cell, like there's the middle, which is the heart, and that's always love. But you have a spectrum that you can go either into that fear in the lower aspects, or you can choose to go for the opposite of fear, and that's courage or confidence. For me, it's courage. And this service offering that came through a couple of weeks ago, courage, it started also blooming in Bali. That has been obviously like activating more in my field, and my Council of Lights is preparing me for next week when I'm delivering that codex. And what I'm seeing so clearly is that it's one coin, that it's one cell, and we choose. We choose. Are you choosing courage or are you choosing fear? And it's up to you. But it's one and the same, in different like spectrum of one and the same coin, like head and tail. And because you're so used to always choosing the fear, because that's what you know, that fear actually always has been the courage. And God is asking you to step forward in the courage, to have the uncomfortable conversation, to speak out loud what you never thought you would ever speak about, to move your body in ways you can't even imagine that it could even move, to do the impossible because you know it's possible. And that's what God has been showing me in the past couple of weeks, that it's about where do you direct your energy? Where do you direct your energy? Because on the other spectrum of grief is ecstasy, the ecstasy of life. Whoa, can you feel that? The other end of sadness is joy. But what are you choosing? Are you staying in that sadness, or are you going to listen to God that's moving through you and speaking through you, giving you that choice? And this is where the nervous system work is coming, and this is why it's so damn important to work with the body, And if I become aware of one thing in the past couple of weeks, is that when I was needing help a couple of years ago, and I stepped into a beautiful high galactic quantum container, what I was actually needing the most was somatic practices, was nervous system regulation. And I also got that and received that through quantum flow. But now reflecting back on my own journey from the past 2 years, I can see what I was missing in this journey, and I can see how I am now delivering this in this beautiful soul that's going to be expressed in the membership. And this Friday I'm going to share the new name with you. And in this membership there's literally everything. I'm gonna pour all the love, everything in this membership. Everything that's me, everything that has brought me from the broken girl into who I am right now. From the activations, from the galactic activations and meditations, to the embodiment and the breathwork and moving the body and shaking with the body and tapping the body and just keep going to regulate your nervous system into a joyful system. And this is my greatest passion. And it only has been revealed to me in the past couple of weeks. And it has been in front of me for almost 3 years already. And only now I'm in that refinement. I'm in the refinement of like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is it. For 3 years I was looking like, what is it exactly that I do? Where do I differentiate myself from anyone else in this world? And I kept wanting to fit into certain boxes, into what my mentors were doing, into what my peers were doing, into what my coaches were doing, into what my sisters were doing, wanting to belong there too. But I am freaking me, and I'm different, and I have my own unique experiences that want to be expressed through me. And I came into full acceptance of that from the moment onwards that I asked God, please take control and show me the way. And that's what God did. And then everything started to fall into place. Everything is making so much more sense right now. The conviction that I feel that this is gonna be the year for my business to really thrive. And what I had to do for that is also let go. I had to let go of one specific grid that I could not let go of. I had to let go of one grid that continuously kept in my presence. That continuously kept in my presence. I had to let go, and I felt so much resistance. And that was the Healy grid. And I love Healy. I am co-creating with Healy every single day. Almost. There are also moments in time where I consciously not co-create and not work with Healy. And this is because I do not want any codependency with anything in life, because that to me is like a hard no. And even though it slipped in, like I expressed earlier with the cannabis, it slipped in last year anyway. But I had to let go of the Healy grid in the means of like no longer like my mission is so much bigger than just that. And yes, it's part of it, and it's one of the beautiful tools that I co-create with, and that's supporting me in my ascension. Absolutely. But I was still like trying to fit into certain grids, trying to still shrink down actually as well, in order to fit in. And at the beginning of the year I said stop. I said like no. I'm no longer even going to include it in my new accounts. People will see me using my Healy because I love the freaking device. That's not going to change. But I'm not actively going to like build a team or call in people and so on and so on. And that one decision to disconnect as well from that community gave me so much spaciousness that God took full control in that way, and just everything started to flow through me and express through me in ways that service offerings are just like it's just flowing, and it's so easy, and it's so aligned, and I don't need to think twice about it. It's just, And it's all coming together. For the past couple of years, I tried to fit into certain boxes how my mentor was doing things and leading her business, because I thought like, that's it, that's the way. It felt super aligned. So for that version of myself, it was in alignment, but it was not for me. And I'm a tree line in human design, so this is also my process. I'm a trial and error process, so I try many things, and 80% fails. And we learn through the failure. We do not learn through success. We learn through failure. So this is another piece that I really had to embrace, that I'm asking you to start to embody and to embrace and to celebrate yourself when you fail. Because you cannot fail in life. It's only redirecting you in a new direction, or it's teaching you something. But you cannot fail. You cannot fail. Maybe you can feel like a little detour, but it was still in your highest alignment, because apparently you had to learn some lesson and some teachings and receive some codes and shake some stuff off. So you cannot fail. And once I started to reprogram my body and my nervous system, that the failures and all these things that I try, and then I try something new, and then I try something new, that was part of my journey, and that it's about the journey and not the end goal, life became one big playground and a happy space and a beautiful place. So I think I'm feeling complete. Most likely I will be sharing more, who knows, about my relationship with God. And I would also love to know, like, how is this for you? How is your relationship with God? Do you even feel a relationship with God? How has it been? Has it been similar to me, that there was no relationship, or that you felt resistance? Have you come to that point of full surrender, of like, show me the way? How has it been for you? Because we are all on a divine journey, and we are all on a different journey. You are living in your own unique little universe, and it's big, it's not even little, but it's your world. And there is no world like your world. So how is God? How is source energy? How is the universe? How is your soul moving through you? I feel that's a beautiful journal prompt to end this life with, and for you to sit with for a little bit, to feel into how is God moving through you? How is God expressing through you? How is God correcting you? And if God does not feel aligned for you, you replace God with source energy. You can replace source energy with the universe. You can place the universe with your ancestors. Whatever feels in alignment for you, journal about it. And not from your head. Start to feel in. Start to feel with your heart, and then start writing. Write it down for yourself. Create a beautiful sacred place. Go outside into the forest, to the beach, to a quiet place, and sit with this. Feel into this with your body, and allow your body to give you the answers. Allow your body to lead the way, not your mind. Your mind will follow. Allow your body to go first. Today I also released more information about the beautiful service offering Courage, the secret service offering. It's not so secret anymore. More has been being revealed, and yeah, it's going to be a really deep journey into you, transforming your stories into embodied wisdom, for you then to start expressing those stories with those people that you feel safe with. And that can be in public, that can be just with one person that you trust and can give you the support that you need right now. If you can only open up to one person, it will already help you so much. But this can also mean one of the beautiful souls that's joining, she actually wrote down the word courage for her new program, and she felt a little bit fear coming in to roll it out. So that can also be the case, to really transform that fear into courage, because it's one and the same. So what are you going to choose? And it's going to be a 3-day master course. It's going to happen next week from Wednesday onwards, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We're going to see each other 3 days live for about 90 minutes. And then you will also receiving support. I'm already starting to say more. But here you go, you will also be receiving our support during these days via Telegram to receive more guidance. This week I will be revealing a little bit more about this layer and about the voice activation that's going to take place in this journey. And then at the end of the week, I'm going to reveal even more, and then the price is going to be doubled again. So if you do have any questions about this beautiful service offerings, then please do let me know. You can send me a DM. I can send you the link if you desire to join. You're more than welcome. It would be my honor to, journey with you in this beautiful space. And then I also have one spot still available for private mentorship this month. Here we go super deep. This is a customized journey. Minimum 3 months. If you feel any alignment for that, please do reach out to me. You can also go to the link in the bio where you can find more information. For now, I'm wishing you a beautiful evening or afternoon or morning, wherever you are in this world or watching this replay. I'm going to prepare myself for a beautiful quantum flow practice, which I'm facilitating in about 40 minutes in the Flow membership. And most likely, I will see you all tomorrow again when I'm coming live once more. Let's just breathe in a few times before we closing this portal. Place your hands on your heart. Close your eyes and let's just breathe in. Relax your shoulders, relax your jaw, and then as you exhale and you're just releasing everything, making any sounds that desire to be expressed, and let it all go. Let's do this 2 more times. Inhaling. Last time. Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for sharing this space with me. And I'm sending you lots of love. Bye bye.